Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped. Now, I'm sure many of you realise that there is a difference between the YouTube timeline and the real world timeline. Because in the real world, it's just a day after I handed back the key to the fabulous Porsche 992 GT3 RS. But in the YouTube time frame, that video went out a while ago. But I hope you've watched it. If not, I'll put a link above. But I also want to describe this. I think this is what us Brits called sod's law. Because I had that GT3 RS for 3 days. The first day was nice and sunny and warm, but I didn't do any filming. And then the 2 days I had planned for filming were overcast and damp. And actually it rained most of the time. Not perfect conditions for the car, but today is perfect for conditions for that car. Never mind. Anyway, I went back to Porsche GB and swapped the cars out and picked up this. That is a 992.2 Carrera GTS T Hybrid. I know that car's been out for a little while now. It's taken me this long to get my hands on it, but there is much to discuss about the car behind me because that is a hybrid 911. Now, before all you petrol heads go running for the hills because you've heard the word hybrid, let me explain. It is a hybrid, but not like any hybrid I've driven. It's not a plug-in hybrid. It doesn't have all EV running, and it wasn't done for efficiency. The main reason Porsche have made the 911 a hybrid is to tick the box for the latest emissions regulations while still providing the ultimate performance you would expect from a 911. In this video, I'm going to very briefly talk to you about the hybrid system, talk to you about some of the changes on the interior for the 992.2, but then we're going to go on a bit of a road trip with this one and Tracy. The thing I love about the 911 is just the broad spectrum of cars that effectively one car delivers. Yesterday I handed back a GT3 RS with massive wing on the back and all the aero bits, a full dedicated track car, and then you've got this, a much more sleek, classy sports tourer, and then you've got convertibles and Targas. It's an incredible platform when you think about it. But if you aren't a 911 expert, you would probably look at this car and go, well, it looks just like the last one, really. And first up, it does. I mean, clearly they've got bigger over the years through the generations. From an aesthetics point of view, for the beginner, if you like, the two big differences between the 992.1 and this 992.2, first up, are these kind of almost like shark gills. These are active flaps that will close to give the car a more sleek and aerodynamic profile, but open when cooling is needed. And I think they open when you're up in Sport Plus mode as well. And then the other big difference, if you look at a 992.1, the indicators are kind of just as a lighting element just here, and now in the .2, everything is absorbed into the main headlight unit, and that's just cleaned up the front a little bit. And then the last thing to talk about with this particular car as we go on to talk about the hybrid is up front now, underneath here, we have a 1.9 kilowatt hour battery for the hybrid system. Now, stating the obvious here, clearly the engine in the 911 is at the back, but then about here underneath you've got now an 8-speed PDK transmission, but in between the PDK gearbox and the engine is an e-motor, a 53 bhp e-motor, and then the engine itself is now a brand new 3.6 litre flat 6 with 468 bhp. In the 992.1, that would then have 2 turbochargers on it, but this car now only has 1 turbo, and it's called an E-turbo, and this is where the magic happens, because the E-turbo, normally with a turbocharger, exhaust gases spin a turbine, that creates the pressure that then makes things go faster. The problem with that is, unless there are exhaust gases, you can't spool the turbine up, and then the turbo doesn't work, so you get turbo lag. So the E-turbo has a motor in it. So while you're waiting for it to spool up, the motor can spin the turbine and get the turbo working, so you reduce turbo lag. But then what can also happen is then once the turbo has exhaust gases going through it, that e-motor can then act as a generator and basically help replenish power back into the battery. And the e-motor, as well as helping with propulsion, can also help with regenerative braking. So there's this loop of power from the battery into the motor and then power back from the motor into the battery. And what that does basically is help this car meet the emission standards that performance cars are starting to find more and more challenging. So you could actually drive this car, not really realise it's a hybrid. Aesthetically from the outside at the back, I guess one of the big differences now is the exhausts are slightly differently spaced to the previous model. Let's jump inside and I'll talk to you a little bit about some of the changes on the inside, and then it's time for a road trip. At first glance, this doesn't look too different from a 992.1, but there are two big differences. The first one is this, and it's one I'm not really a fan of at all. As we've kind of seen the generations of 911 develop, gone is the key that goes in. Then when you had keyless entry, you had like a little tab that you turned. I had that in the GT3 RS. Now they've replaced that with just a start-stop button, and I'm really not a fan. There is no sense of theatre or occasion for me with that button, and it's not even made of a nice material. It'd be really nice if it was like anodized aluminium or something. And I'm not the biggest Lamborghini fan in the world, but I love the way Lamborghini do their start-stop buttons. It's like a fighter jet, it's a sense of occasion, and I just think that's a bit underwhelming. The other thing, if I just start the car, does sound pretty good to be fair. The main display now here, in the 992.1, the rev counter was still an analog display. This is now a complete TFT screen, just like you'd find in something like Taycan. And I kind of get it because actually I can scroll through a number of different displays. And it's a little bit like, and this is the biggest compliment in the world by the way, a little bit like Audi's virtual cockpit, which they kind of don't do anymore. And I really do like it. That display just there is very much like the old 992.1. So actually, it's a shame to see the old analog rev counter go, but so far from using it, I quite like that display. The other changes, well, jump in the other side and I'll show you. Let me just turn that off. So inside, it's a beautiful place, as you'd imagine. I'm not the biggest fan of the gear change in 992, and it's a carryover in the Dot 2. There's a little bit too much piano black plastics in here, but really interestingly, these come as standard with no rear seats. And I think that's a weight thing, although you can option in rear seats at no cost if you want them. So there's no seats in the back. This particular GTS has been spec'd with the carbon buckets, same as I've got in my Spider. I'm a big fan of those. And all in all, the cabin is a really nicely appointed, lovely place. So I think the next thing we need to do is, well, we need to put it to the test. We need to go on a bit of a road trip. So we're off to Stratford-on-Avon to see a good friend of mine who's also a Porsche guy. And I'm going to be quite interested to take him out in it to see what he thinks. But Tracy's also going to get to drive the car because she's now becoming a real Porsche gal because she's got the Macan. She loves the Spider, but she hasn't driven a 911 for a while. So she's on the insurance, so she'll be driving it. So next thing, tomorrow, we need to pack up the car and head off to Stratford-on-Avon. Well, it's road trip time and the weather isn't looking great, to be honest, but never mind. Now, one of the really cool features I like about the new 992 is the easy access front boot. Ready? That is just genius. Now, we've already started loading stuff in here, obviously important things like flowers for our friends, but this is our main boot. Now, the great thing about a 911 is you can get simply loads and loads of stuff in here. Walking shoes and bags and clothes. Yeah, loads of stuff. The only thing I would say though is much as I go on about and absolutely love these carbon buckets, they don't fold forward. So the only option really is to kind of slide them forward with that handle. And we've got to squeeze the dog in there somehow. I've laid out some nice blankets, so she's going to be lovely and comfortable. But that does make ingress and egress into the back of this car a real issue. Although I would argue that this is really a two-seater and that's storage space in the back. But if you opt for the carbon buckets, then they don't fold. Well, these ones don't anyway. Right, next up, let's get the dog and Tracy, and then head off to the Cotswolds. Now, I managed to negotiate with Tracy's agent. We've negotiated an excellent fee.
Yeah, right.
Well, free. Oh no, hold on. Free and a drive of the Porsche.
Yeah, that's saving you tiring time driving.
Oh, that's right. Saving me time driving. So we are on our way. What's really impressive actually is the front boot swallowed all of our luggage, with the exception of a bunch of flowers, which are behind me, and your Mary Poppins handbag.
Thank you.
Which literally, I think it fits the universe inside. Now, I'm not going to ask you what you think of the 911 yet, because you've literally been driving it for about 5 miles.
Yeah, not even that.
Not even that. But we have got 2.5 hour drive ahead of us. We've got the petrol pup in the back. She's already fast asleep. So we're going to crack on our way. I guess the first question you asked was, is it 4-wheel drive?
Yeah.
And it's not.
No, and it's raining.
And it's raining. That's fine. Does it feel quite quick to start with?
Very.
Now, as we're going along, sad to report that the new 911 is now subject to the compulsory ADAS systems that we find in all modern cars, but they have got 3 different ways that you can manage those. So there are 2 start buttons. You can see one just here, and there's also one on the steering wheel that are programmable. So what we've done in this car, we've set the one on the steering wheel to turn off the speed bong. I've set this one to turn off the start-stop, because I just find the start-stop particularly intrusive in this car. And then underneath the controls for the cruise control is a button that you can push and hold to turn off the lane departure assistance. So all of the annoying systems are off now. We're on a little bit more of a bit of twisty flowing road, and Tracy's starting to get her head around the car and starting to find the heavy right foot is starting to take control. Oh yeah, another bonus to the 992.2 is my phone's in there on a cooled wireless charging mat, because in my Spider and in the 992 you had to plug the phone in with a USB cable, but now it's wireless charging and wireless Apple CarPlay. We've been going quite a while. We're now on the M40. We've listened to an excellent podcast.
Yep, it's very good.
You've had time to get your head around the car.
Yep.
And?
Well, seriously, just makes you smile. I can't remember the last time I drove a car that was about driving. And it's one of those cars that just makes you get butterflies all fizzy in your tummy when you're on the smaller roads. It's a proper driving car. Being on the motorway is like any other car, so I kind of understand now why doing road trips in Europe in something like this is such fun.
Does that mean you might even consider coming on a road trip?
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, right. Here's a question. This or that Taycan Sport Turismo, Cross Turismo we had?
This.
Oh, it makes a good noise, doesn't it?
The noise is fantastic. I mean, it's not a car that you want to drive in London.
No.
But we've been in the car for 2 hours. It's super comfy.
Even these carbon buckets are comfy, right?
Yeah, but it just makes you smile. Makes you giggle.
This could be a 150 grand expensive video.
No. I didn't say I'd buy one, but...
Oh, here's one then. Okay, this or the Macan?
No, this.
Oh, okay. Oh, good.
But it's a driving car.
Yeah.
So, for anybody who wants to have a car that they can really drive hard and play in, it's this.
Question though, so when we got in it, you asked whether it was four-wheel drive, and it's two. But you've driven it reasonably hard a couple of times, and even in the damp conditions. Do you feel intimidated by it at all, or just feels like it's looking after you?
Yeah, I mean, it's solid, absolutely solid, and it drives like it's on rails, so...
Does that mean, am I going to get to drive it back?
Yes, of course. You're the car reviewer, not me.
Yeah, right. What will happen tomorrow when we have to drive back is that suddenly I'll find that I've got to get in the passenger seat because you're already sat in the driver's seat ready to go. But yeah, we've got about half an hour to go to get to our friend's house. And then what I want to do is Andrew, who we're going to go and stay with, and his lovely wife Cecile, Andrew has a lovely 991.2 Targa 4S. And I want to take him out in this and get his opinion on what he thinks of the very latest 911. But yeah, so big thumbs up from Mrs. Petrol Ped. Oh no, that's not an oh no. It's a really good yes, excellent. So that means when I think about maybe, buying a...
No.
Oh. You like the Spider though, don't you?
Yeah, it's all right.
Welcome to the 992.2. The other thing, you were just saying it's a shame the rev counter's gone.
Yeah.
There's a start-stop button.
Yeah, that's a crime against automotive. Sounds good, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
That's just in warm-up phase. I thought I'd get Andrew along for first impressions.
It's a good noise.
Good noise, isn't it?
And that's standard exhaust, of course it is,
yeah.
on a GTS. Brakes are good, of course, it's Porsche.
Just the downshifts are just a little bit lazy.
It's a very compliant ride.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's
it's confidence inspiring, and firm, but not uncomfortable. It just feels
it's
nicely weighted.
In the softer damper setting.
Is that in sport? Are you in sport?
I'm in sport. Yeah.
Okay, right. So sport and
up into Sport Plus.
oh, okay.
It firms the dampers up.
Oh, yeah.
But I can just soften them off.
Yeah.
Now we've got a bit of temperature.
Yeah.
What I want to show you is the launch control function.
Yeah.
We'll need some space behind us to do that though.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Let's do it. You could feel it kind of squirming.
So it's now the next day and I'm actually on my way back to Reading to hand the car back. I thought I'd just approach this review in a slightly different way and get some different perspectives. You always hear my view on cars and I think it's interesting to get the view of Tracy and someone who's had got a few 911s and Porsches and stuff and to see what they think of the new one. My view of the car is, first up, this thing is a very, very clever bit of engineering. It is unbelievably rapid. The thing I found most interesting actually was dropping off a GT3 RS and picking up this and feeling the differences between the two instantly. They're both 911s, but they're designed for such different things. And I've said already, the thing I find most interesting about 911s is, I've mentioned the different form factors. So you've got, coupes and Targas and cabriolets, but then you've got two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive and naturally aspirated and turbocharged and now hybridized, and they're all on the same chassis. I find that fascinating. But this thing, its performance, just the sheer urgency of the car, as soon as you hit the throttle, it is unreal. You get a few whooshes and a few chirps from the turbo at the back, and you catch up traffic really, really quickly, which is super annoying, especially on this road. But if you're sat there thinking, oh, what have Porsche done? I mean, it was bad enough when they went from air-cooled to water-cooled, and then, oh my goodness, they went from naturally aspirated to turbocharged, and now they've hybridized it. I mean, how to ruin a 911? Well, you simply mustn't think that way. First things first, if you have a preconceived idea about what a hybrid is, then forget that, because this doesn't drive like any hybrid I've ever driven. First up, with a hybrid, you'd probably think, oh, you know, you're going to be able to run it on all EV. You can't do that in this car. Secondly, you're going to think, well, I'm going to get really, really good fuel economy. Well, maybe not so much. I mean, my trip, I've done 341 miles in this car so far, and I've averaged 22.8 miles to the gallon. So it's not the most frugal thing. Admittedly, that is some fairly enthusiastic driving with my fair share of launch controls. But even since the last refuel, and that's really Tracy driving back yesterday, that's 115 miles, 24 miles to the gallon. So I don't think you're going to buy one and it's going to be like super efficient on go-go juice, because it's not. You've got to get the performance from something. As I've mentioned already, the hybridization is part of an emissions requirement. But what Porsche have managed to do is just something so different to any other hybrid I've driven. It's a performance-oriented hybrid. The little electric motor in the turbo pre-spools the turbo so that you get no turbo lag at all. It's a bit like driving an EV in some respects. That instant torque, you hit the throttle and you've got the power instantly there. You need to make sure you're in roughly the right gear, but there's no lag at all. It is brilliant for overtaking, which hopefully I'll demonstrate very shortly. Told you, this thing is rapid. My big negative from the gearbox point of view, I've mentioned already, the downshift is just a little bit lazy. And by a little bit lazy, I'm talking a couple of tenths of a second. But compared to that GT3 RS I had, which was just so quick up and down, it's noticeable. And I don't know whether that's to do with, it's a thing with the 8-speed PDK, whether it's to do with the hybrid system. It's just a bit lazy on the way down. It's super quick on the way up. Let's just have a quick chat about price and spec. So the Carrera GTS T Hybrid that I'm sat in, base price around £138,000, and this press car has around £10,000 worth of options on it. The three big ticket items are, it's got the upgraded Matrix Fandango headlights, which I am a massive fan of, about £2,500. Definitely worth a box tick for that one. These carbon buckets, which I am a massive fan of, are £4,600. However, I wouldn't spec them in this car. They're brilliant in my car, and I think if you've got something like a GT3 with a sort of club sport, you know, with a cage in the back, brilliant. But if you have all the space in the back, and I've mentioned it before already, this car comes as standard with no seats, but they're a non-cost option if you want seats in the back. But if you want to make use of that space in the back, these fixed carbon buckets make that really, really challenging. And you would be far better off, I think, with the 18-way adjustable comfort seats. Firstly, I mean, they still look nice. They don't look as nice as the carbon buckets, but they're easier to get in and out of, and they're very comfortable, but they also tilt forward, so you can make use of the space behind. With the carbon buckets, that just becomes a little bit more challenging. So all in all, about 148 grand for this car, which is a lot. You know, it wasn't that long ago that for that kind of money, I'd be expecting a GT3. And don't get me wrong, this car has kind of, you know, 992.1 GT3 performance. It's an epic thing. I mean, goodness knows what the 992.2 GT3 is going to be like. Just unbelievable. And the one I really can't wait to drive is the new 992.2 Turbo S, because it's got 2 of the turbochargers that you find on this car and like 700 and something horsepower, that's going to be a rocket ship of a car, because this hooks up so quickly. So yeah, final impressions are I'm very, very impressed. It's maybe not got the pin sharp precision of some of the earlier 911s. It is a little bit heavier. I think that it's something like 50 kilos heavier because of the hybrid system, which you do notice a little bit. It feels very solid and very robust. And I think I've just come out of a GT3 RS, which is a reasonably lightweight car. So that's maybe making me feel it's a little bit heavier than it is. But it does feel heavy and solid and well put together. I've actually got to really appreciate and enjoy the different screen options I've got on the dashboard. I do find it a bit sad that the old analog rev counter has gone, but what they've replaced it with is actually very, very good. I'd like a few more real buttons. I don't like this piano black, and I don't like the gear selector. I've not liked that since 992.1. I really miss the proper kind of gear selector and knocking it over to the left to go into manual override. In this, you've just got to push a button, which it's not the same. And the manual override button's right next to the park button, which isn't great. But yeah, very, very impressive car. And I guess it should be for the price tag, right? It's a very impressive, very expensive car. But if this is what Porsche need to do to keep flat sixes in their portfolio, then all hail to Porsche, because they've done a wonderful job. The hybrid system in this is off the chart. It's brilliant, very, very clever, and it just delivers a completely new and unique driving experience entirely based around performance. Getting this car to perform as well as it possibly can, and they've done a magnificent job. So if you were one of those that when you heard the 911 was going to be a hybrid freaked out a little bit, don't. Because once you get to drive this car, you will realise that actually it doesn't detract from the car or detract from the driving experience. It just adds a new one. The instant, no turbo lag, instant throttle response driving characteristic is very, very addictive, and this car is very, very quick. Anyway, let me know what you think of the 992.2 Carrera GTS T Hybrid. I think I got that right. If you enjoyed that, give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome. See, a little bit of a lag, but if you enjoyed that, please give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come. I'm going to enjoy this car on the way back to Reading, and I'll see you on the next film. You take care, guys. Drive safe.